We all know what's going on with the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson, but he's not the only AFC North pass rusher looking to get paid this offseason. So in this video, I sit down with a Pittsburgh Steelers expert to get the latest on TJ Watt. Hi again, Bengals fans. John Sheeran of A to Z Sports Cincinnati here. We got a special episode here because I'm not alone. It's not just me on the screen right now. We got my man, Rob Gregson of A to Z Sports, Pittsburgh Steelers, covers the Steelers. He's amazing at what he does. One of the best guys covering the Steelers beat. Finally having him on the program. Our channels are now about a year old, but this is the first time we're doing some sort of a crossover episode because the Bengals and Steelers kind of have a similar issue at hand right now with their star pass rushers. But before we get into that, Rob, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, John. Obviously very excited to break down what's going on in the AFC North. You know, obviously you think Steelers, you think Bengals, you think this rivalry. There's a lot of parallels between TJ Watt and Trey Hendrickson today. So excited to break it all down.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of shared history with these two franchises, rivals going back decades, back all the way to the AFC Central days. A little bit difference in terms of, levels of success that both franchises have experienced. But something that was an interesting parallel, a handful of years ago was like the Bengals, the Steelers didn't often give out, these contracts with massive guarantees to non-quarterbacks. And then TJ Watt kind of set that new precedent when he kind of inserted himself in the negotiations back in 2021. He said, look, let's just get this done. I want to stay here. I want to get paid. And they made it happen. And he got paid about $20 million per year over the course of 4 to 5 years. But that contract is now going to be expiring at the end of the season. It seems like, Watt is trying to get paid one more time. So just before we get into all the details here, kind of give us an overlay about what's happening right now. What is the contention? What is the beef between the Steelers and Watt? And where do things stand as of this moment?
Yeah, obviously it's been a long process. I mean, I really think that this all kickstarted months ago. It was a subtle jab from J.J. Watt. Obviously, his brother goes on Pat McAfee's show, CBS guy, and he said, usually these relationships work out a lot better when you pay your guys earlier than later. And the Steelers, they decided not to do that. Now Watt's going into the final year of his deal. He still hasn't got his new contract. A lot of people thought that the initial holdup was, well, they don't want to pay him more than Myles Garrett. It seems like that's really not a problem. You talk to, sources around the league, you hear what others are reporting, and it's pretty obvious that he's going to get at least very close, if not more, than that $40 million per year threshold. The main issue, to my understanding right now, is the guaranteed money. Obviously, you're talking about a player who's going to be 31 years old, who 3 out of the last 4 seasons has dealt with an injury. We go back to 22, bad pec. You go to 23, he misses the playoff game against the Buffalo Bills. And then last year, he was completely battered. Didn't record a single sack down the stretch of the season. Obviously, was a no-show against the Baltimore Ravens. That is the primary concern with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We love TJ Watt. We know TJ Watt is a great player. We want to pay him for his past performance, but do we want to guarantee him the money that comes with being the highest non-paid quarterback in the NFL if we look up in 3 or 4 years and he's in his mid-30s and he's injured every year? That's really the point of contention. Whereas, obviously, if you're Watt and the Steelers representatives, you're trying to get everything you can get.
Yeah, you mentioned J.J. Watt, almost, current Bengal J.J. Watt with, something happened with the soccer team that would have went a different way. But yeah, like that has been, it's a similar thing going on with Trey Hendrickson in terms of the longevity, in terms of how long, the peaks of these guys' careers can keep up. And they're obviously in a very similar situation. They were both coming out of that 2017 draft class. They're around the same age a little bit, but obviously Watt, he's critically acclaimed. He's just one of the best players at his position. He has been that for quite some time. And I think that kind of leads us into that discussion in terms of the longevity aspect of Watt's career and how long that you kind of expect him to keep up this level of play, because that's obviously, the thing that the Steelers are discussing right now. In your own just analysis about who Watt is as a player, how long do you think that his peak and his prime of his career is able to last at this point, considering the injuries that he's had over the past couple of years? Do you foresee him being the same type of player for the next handful of years, or do you think the Steelers, do you have a point in terms of questioning the longevity of his career?
Well, I think you bring up a great point, because when you think of TJ Watt, right, you think of power, you think of speed and bend off the edge. He's obviously a 5-tool player. He's got it all. The only thing that's going to slow down TJ Watt is injuries. And that's kind of the main issue, right? Is players, people in general, you don't get healthier as you get older. It just doesn't happen, right? Especially in the NFL, when you play the most physical position in the sport. I think we tend to forget that with edge rushers and offensive tackles. They are hitting somebody every single play. And that's what TJ Watt has done now for the past 8-9 years, and then obviously much longer going through college. And now he's going to be getting into his early and mid-30s. So Are we going to see this like steep decline or degradation of his skill set? I don't believe so. I think he can still be a top 5 to 10 pass rusher probably for the next 3 to 5 years. The question is, how much time is he going to be on the field? I mean, we think of Von Miller and what he did with the Rams and other pass rushers that have played into their 30s. There's no doubt in my mind that TJ Watt can be that kind of player. The issue at hand is if he's been injured 3 of the last 4 seasons, we already know he takes extremely good care of himself. We already know he's extremely disciplined. He's not going to suddenly find, a magic bean and create a new identity. Is he going to be able to remain healthy? Is he going to be able to play another 4 to 5 years where he only misses a game or two? That's what you have to decide. And unfortunately, that's probably not the case. So you see why the Steelers have been held up in their part of the negotiation.
Well, it's not just Watt that they're dealing with right now. I mean, we just saw a week and a half ago what they did to revamp the back half of the defense by trading away Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey. Minkah was such a critical part of that defense, but clearly, Mike Tomlin, I think he knows what he's doing on that side of the ball. And if he identifies that a player is best off the team and inserting someone else, there's a level of trust in there. So obviously everything is on the table at this point, but how do you foresee this situation kind of unfolding? There's talks about, Watt being traded and everything like that, but what is the most realistic path for how this whole situation concludes?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk. Like the Steelers are one of the last to report to camp. The deal will get done closer to camp. Well, we've been hearing that for 4 or 6 weeks now. It's getting closer to camp, and all you hear is these two sides remain very far apart. So unless something changes drastically here in the next week and a half, I really don't understand why we're not talking about a parallel to 2021. TJ Watt signed his contract in 2021 3 days before the regular season started. 3 days. And a lot of people seem to think, oh, well, he won't do that again. He wants more money this time, and it's more of a contest again from the Steelers side this time. So the idea that this is going to sort itself out quickly, it's just false. What does TJ Watt show up to camp? I'm sure he does. Does he participate in on-field drills and practices? Not until he has a contract. So I think that's where it gets very interesting. I would not be surprised as we sit here today if TJ Watt come week 1, maybe even week 2, week 3 in Latrobe is not playing, and it's just a brewing storyline.
It's so funny. The NFL offseason is like 9 months, right? It's as long as a pregnancy, and so many things can happen. And it's like sometimes you just wish you could fast forward to the end, because at the end of the day, Trey Hendrickson is probably going to be a Cincinnati Bengal. TJ Watt is probably going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. But there's a lot of things that kind of happen between the beginning of January and the end of August. But, again, some similarities there with the Bengals obviously taking a long time to handle their own problems. And I can kind of foresee something similar happening with Trey Hendrickson. But there's still 6 weeks until all of this kind of concludes with training camp and the preseason and everything that happens with the Steelers. And then you can find out on Rob's channel at A to Z Sports Pittsburgh. So, Rob, thank you so much for breaking it down for us.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.